You didn't. Hello and welcome to this We Did It Health broadcast. At We Did It Health, we're working to create a happy, healthy, vegan, and plant-based world. And we're doing that through building community and offering resources such as today's discussion to help you create relationships where you will plant seeds of hopeful curiosity in others when they ask about a vegan or plant-based lifestyle. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or your favorite workshop presentations. We also invite you to join our Facebook page and the We Did It Health community so you can connect with others and find support and encouragement with like-minded members. Links to our group are in the description below. My name is Angela Crawford, and I am so excited to introduce our very own Mariquita Solis, who is doing the presentation for today's program. And she doesn't require too much introduction from me because so many of you know her, and she's going to share more about her great work and in her presentation. But she is the Community and Engagement Director for We Did It Health and is an inspiring vegan empowerment coach. So I'm really looking forward to what you're sharing, Mariquita, and so glad to be here with you. So I'm going to let you dive in.
Thank you, Angela, and thanks everybody for joining. And there's Cassandra. Thanks for coming, and I'm excited about this presentation because I really believe in the We Did It Health community, really working on communication with other people. So and a relationship with other people. And today we're going to be talking about your inner voice, the relationship between your inner voice and your mission. So are they in alignment, or is your inner voice sabotaging you?
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to learn more. So
All right.
Take it away, Mariquita.
I'll take it away. Let's see. All right. So again, your inner voice and your mission, are they in alignment? So this is something that I didn't even know. I never gave this any thought in the past before I kind of became more awakened and more, I started to wonder about my life and how my life was playing out, and if I was responsible for my life or who was responsible for my life. So this all unfolded in an organic way of life teaching me lessons and me resisting the lessons, and then the lessons coming back again. So let's start off with, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself for people that might not know me. I'm a vegan empowerment coach. I help vegans that are struggling with depression and anxiety, and that are struggling with communication and really feeling bad at night, not knowing how to go on. And it can be very unsettling, very sad. So I really work with them to heal these wounds. I mean, the trauma of finding out what's going on in the animal agriculture. So, and getting them to where they're thriving. So that is what I do, along with working with We Did It Health. I'm also the leader of the animal ministry at my church, which I love, and a volunteer at the Chattahoochee Nature Center. So I really want to be surrounded with animals as much as I can and making a difference, planting seeds everywhere I can go. All right, so let me read this. Once we learn to navigate the relationship between our inner voice and what we want to have happen in our life, we can do better. And so doing better is moving forward. It doesn't mean that we're going to fail, that we're not going to fail anymore, or that we're not going to have disappointments. That's not what it means. It means that we're going to realize that we're humans. We're on a human experience, and a human experience and a spiritual experience as well, and that we are not perfect. We are beautifully imperfectly perfect. So acknowledging that and seeing how we can support ourselves, right? And supporting ourselves has to do with this inner voice, the dialogue that's running on a loop all the time. What is that voice saying to you? So this was me, and I probably was about 6 here. And I had a very happy voice running at that point, and a voice that believed in myself. You can do it. I was excited about kindergarten, and my voice was supporting me. And as I grew up, I began to hear voices of other people, and the voice of other people, and they started to show me, or they told me that I wasn't good enough, right? That the things that I was doing, I wasn't learning fast enough, or I wasn't enough in certain areas. So my inner voice changed from this little supportive inner voice of a little girl who believed in herself to someone who didn't believe in herself. So the voice changed, and I began to sabotage myself. So it's very crucial that we understand this relationship between our inner voice and ourselves. And that when we look at it, it's really crucial that we do this with gentleness and curiosity, not persecution. So this is what my inner voice was telling me for years. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm a failure. So this was the loop, running and running. So every morning I would get up and I would say, okay, world, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy of prosperity. I'm not worthy of love, and I'm a failure. So let me go out into the world and see how I can make something happen. Well, things aren't going to happen with that voice running continually. That voice was sabotaging my life. And I was sad, crying, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't fulfilled in my life. And it was a period of darkness. And it was only until I reached a certain point where I couldn't take it anymore that I started to study about this different voice. About this voice, right, that I had, and a different voice that could support my life, because this is the loop that is running in so many of our lives, that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, no one wants to hear me, no one wants to hear my vegan message. And if we get up and say nobody wants to hear my vegan or whole food plant-based message, and I go out there, there's no way to hide that from people, because if you're thinking that, it's going out into the universe. So if we're thinking nobody wants to hear me and we go try to speak to people, we're sabotaging ourselves. And I was a master at self-sabotage. So according to scientists, 75% of the time we're running on negative thoughts. So it's normal. It's normal for us to run on those negative thoughts, but we can awaken to that. And we can look at those thoughts. And we can realize that this is part of the human experience. Other people are dealing with this too. It's nothing on us. I don't have to feel ashamed because I have negative thoughts. It's part of life, but I can make a change. 95% of the time we're running on autopilot, right? I'm not asking my heart to beat. I'm not asking, I jump into my car. I don't have to sit there and think, okay, now how do I turn on the car? I got to tell my right foot to move here, and I need to make sure to, do the clutch and all this. I don't have to do that, right? It's autopilot. I get in the car, I'm driving, and then I think, well, who drove me here? I did. So that's autopilot. And so that's what's happening in our lives. So this voice that's running on autopilot, is it supporting you? And how can we help? How can we get that voice to support your mission as a vegan activist, as an environmental activist? How can that voice be in alignment with what you want in your life? Because we don't want to be running on those negative thoughts. We want to see a negative thought. We see the negative thought. Oh, nobody's going to listen to this. Nobody's going to come to the live stream today. You and Angela are going to be there. No one's coming. Okay, so that could have been a thought that would enter my mind. And so, so what I can do is say, you know what, thanks for being here. But I have a greater thought, right? And I realize that this is part of the human experience. And I'm going to allow that thought to kind of go over to the side, and I'm going to put in a new thought. 3 new thoughts. Wow, no matter who comes, Angela and I are going to have a great time. It's going to be a great learning experience for me and for the beautiful people that do watch. And I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to be proud of myself, because my mission is to share this message and I'm living in alignment with my mission, whether anybody watches or not. So that's living in alignment, right, with my inner voice, supporting my mission, which is to get this word out. No matter who watches, I can go to bed at night and know that I did a good job, and I'm going to congratulate myself. I'm going to say, you rocked it. So be very gentle. I'm gentle with myself. I laugh at the negative thoughts. Hey, I see you, but you're not getting me this time. And I know it's normal to have you here, so there's nothing wrong with me. I'm all right. So how do we align our thoughts and beliefs with a vegan message? First of all, we have to make sure that we know what we want in our life. What is your mission? Is your mission to be a great speaker, do presentations to the world? Or is your mission, your vegan mission, to make beautiful videos for the world, maybe present them on YouTube? Or is it to organize a march? Whatever it is, we have to get clear on what our mission is. So maybe you don't know, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine not to know what your mission is. So I suggest that you take time to sit in the quiet and look at what other people are doing. Maybe you're looking for a way to be an activist. So explore. Life is about curiosity and exploration with gentleness. So just taking your time to really give some thought to what you want your legacy to be, right? What do you want to put out to the world? And how are you going to have your thoughts and beliefs align with what you want to produce in this world? So what I want to produce in this world is to elevate people's spirits. I want them to celebrate themselves. So I can't help others celebrate themselves unless I'm celebrating myself, unless I'm lifting myself up first. So that autopilot of 95% of the time that's running has got to be supportive of me. So every thought we have creates a pattern in our brain, a physical pattern. So if we have a negative thought, we can replace it with 3 positive thoughts to really build a new pathways in our brains, new patterns in our brains, so that our autopilot is supporting our vegan mission. Getting clear on our vegan mission. And I would love to see in the comments what your vegan mission is and how aligned are you? I mean, 50% aligned, how aligned are your thoughts with your activism or your mission? So let's keep going. So what comes around comes back around, and input equals output. So I can input to myself, right, that I am an amazing speaker. People love me. They want to hear the message, right? And so I'm feeding myself this is my thought, these are my beliefs, and what's going to happen, I'm going to elevate myself, right? I'm not going to get up in the morning and say, wow, this day's terrible, I'm never going to make it through, because our cells are listening to everything we say. And so our cells are responding to that. So if I say, oh my gosh, it's a terrible day, I'm dragging, our cells are going to go into action. Okay, she just gave us the command. It's a terrible day. We're going to go into blah. So no, I say, hey, it's a great new day. I wonder what is going to just emerge, right, from this blessing of this day. So yes, input equals output. The thoughts we're feeding ourselves, your inner voice, that is what's going to come out. No matter if you input the wrong thing, you're still going to come out. It's impossible, right? So we've got to lift ourselves up. We've got to be a cheerleader for ourselves with that inner voice, you know. And it might sound hokey, hey, rah, 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 but it's the truth. We've got to do it. It's up to us to elevate ourselves. We cannot depend on other people. We can hear their voices, and we can choose to take what supports our mission and leave the rest. And we can do this without hating them, getting angry. We can do this with gentleness. All right. So here is, let's see, I really can't sleep. See, you're just want curiosity about the inner voice. Is it helping you or is it hurting you? Acknowledging it. Say, hey, I hear you. I hear you. And I'm choosing to listen to you, or I'm choosing to acknowledge you. Hey, I hear you. And this isn't a supportive voice. What you're saying to me is not helping me. So I'm going to choose something else. And I have a greater mind that makes a decision to choose the voice that helps me. And I can program that voice to help me. So acknowledging it, though, we're not just ignoring it. I hear you. I see you. Thank you for doing your best. It's not supporting me. So it's compassionate self-dialogue here. All right. So a lot of times the voice we're hearing that's running isn't our voice. It could be like your mom's voice. For me, a lot of times it was a male figure in my life that was telling me that I was worth, that I wasn't going to amount to anything, right? So that was the voice. You're not going to amount to anything. You're not going to amount to anything. Over and over. That was my inner voice. But I finally realized, wait a minute, whose voice is this? Right? That's not my voice. That's not the voice of that little girl, that 2-year-old girl that wouldn't stop, that learned to walk and said she could do anything. That was another voice that didn't support me. And so it also could be a voice, your inner voice might be a voice of fear, coming from fear. It might be fear speaking, right? Paranoia speaking might be what you're running on that autopilot. So this is a time of reflection, just to take maybe this weekend, this week, to look at that dialogue that's running and your inner voice, and how's it supporting your vegan mission, your whole food plant-based mission. So I love that somebody said curiosity without judgment. Yes, beautiful. And all right, so being aware again, whose voice are you following? So engaging in compassionate self-dialogue. This is about practicing, right? And practicing with gentleness. So yeah, we might not have everything perfect, and there is no perfect, but we can practice. These are skills, and there's no reason to be ashamed of it. Ashamed that we're running the wrong program, or beating ourselves up that we're running that wrong voice, the voice that doesn't support us. It's just about, I'm going to develop the skill to enhance my voice, to make my voice a beautiful sound to this world that supports what I want to happen. I'm going to support myself. And when we're really living in that inner voice that supports our mission, we're going to feel light. We're going to know that whatever happens, we've done our best. It's not a feeling of heaviness. So if our inner voice is hurting us, then we're going to feel heavy. We're going to feel depressed because we're putting ourselves down. So we want to elevate ourselves with gentleness and curiosity always, right? So practice, practice, practice these skills. So is it the false voice again, or the true voice? And the false voice represses us, and the true voice elevates us, elevates our mission, elevates the world, right? If our mission is really enhancing the lives of animals, well, we're all together in this. There's no way to enhance the lives of animals and it not affect us, because we're all connected in our environment. So the more that your inner voice is supporting you, the more it supports animals, the more it supports the earth. Because if you're able to have a strong inner voice, then you're able to share with other people more in a greater fashion. You're able to enhance your skills, maybe as a communicator, because you're uplifting yourself. So the stronger and more beautiful your voice is, the true voice of wisdom, the more you help this world and the planet. It all is connected again. All right. So definitely embracing your true voice. And again, that will feel good in your body. It's going to come from a place of gratitude, not lack, not I'm not enough, my voice isn't strong enough, I'll never be heard. That's living in lack. And that's what hinders us getting our message out. That would hinder me if I wanted to get out there and do a protest and I started off with no one's going to listen to me today. I would go out there and be angry and mad at people. Why aren't you going to listen to me? I've already told myself you're not going to listen. So that sabotages. So it's crucial again to embrace your true voice. Take steps of compassion this weekend, compassionately looking at your inner voice and realizing how can I change this? How can I make it so it's supporting my life, my legacy? When I pass away, what do I want people to have said about me? Right? What did she share with the world? How did she lift herself up? And how did she lift others up? So gratitude. Again, I'm grateful that I have a voice. I'm grateful that I can make changes to uplift myself, just like all of us can. And it's a journey of love and it's a journey of compassion. So, and then just like the vegan journey or a whole food plant-based journey, it doesn't happen overnight. So the reason I'm able to go out and speak to people and maybe have 0 people watching this live stream and be okay with it, again, is because my voice, my life is in alignment with my mission. And so I don't have any outcome of like, there has to be 100 people watching. No, the outcome is how did I live in alignment with my voice supporting me with the goal of putting out good information to this world? Right? Am I living in alignment? Can I look at myself and with kindness and say that I'm doing that? And that's how I sleep at night. So I'm not perfect. Yeah, sometimes I waver, and that's okay. I forgive myself. I'm compassionate. I've learned to be compassionate with myself. So when I live in alignment, I believe I'm making a difference, and I know I'm making a difference. So that's what I want for you all, to just bring some awareness in. And with compassion. Let's see. So again, this is who I am. I'm a vegan empowerment coach, and I help vegans that are struggling. If you're struggling with these, not being able to move forward because your voice is not supporting you and you don't know how to enhance it, if you don't know how to get out of this mindset where your voice is just attacking you and attacking you and attacking you. I've been there. I know. So please reach out to me. You can email me, Mariquita Solis coaching at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. I have a great group, Empowered Vegans, Voices of Strength for Mother Earth, where we're solution focused and we celebrate ourselves, we celebrate our voices, and we live in alignment with the vegan mission. So that is my presentation, and I'd love to hear more about everyone's mission and how that is, and how is your voice supporting it, or maybe there's some ways that you might need help, some hang-ups sometimes. I know a lot of vegans feel like they have to persecute themselves, and that's pushing ourselves down. So I'd love to hear your comments. And Angela, what do you think about your voice and your mission?
Sure, I will definitely comment on that, and I'll share first a couple of the comments that already are there. Okay. Relate. So, Cassandra wants to make sure she expresses that she appreciates what you are already contributing and doing. So we just need to acknowledge that you've shown up for a lot of people, Mariquita, in your role. And that is really awesome. As far as mission, one person expressed a mission, Philip, helping people understand how food choices help or harm the body and provide basic culinary instructions with the whole food plant-based diet. That's an important mission, because it's interesting how we eat. It not only, it affects the animals and the planet, and it affects us. And it's this big, huge cycle of our food choices affect our very health, which even for those that are more ethical vegans, if we don't take care of us and have a healthy body, we may not be able to give our best to standing for the animals. So thanks for sharing your mission, Philip.
Yeah, and Philip, are you a natural speaker? Or does that come easily to you? I'd love to know that. Because I used to be very shy as a child, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. So I know that can be a hindrance.
Mm-hmm. And here's somebody sharing, thank you, Mariquita. You have a true mission, and I salute you. I'm more along the lines of Philip and my mission. So kind of relating to that, helping people with changing what they eat, which, is so foundational, because the biggest part of making a difference for health, animals, and the planet is, changing what we eat. And that's not easy for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's not easy for a lot of people. It's very hard to break out of those patterns, right? And that's the same thing, like the patterns of eating, as along with the patterns of the voice, right? That you get caught in those loops. It's very easy just to go to McDonald's and grab a hamburger for $2.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's wonderful for those like Philip. That are working on that, sharing new ways of eating, because we really need to change our environment, and that's the first start.
Yeah. And if any others, I'll comment a little bit about, my experience with mission, as you just asked me, Mariquita. And as I'm talking, if others want to share either what they see as their vegan mission, what they are here to share, please feel free to put that in the comments or chat. And also, if you're having challenges with, keeping a hopeful and empowered inner voice, as Mariquita is sharing about, what are the challenges you have with that? For me personally, you mentioned, Mariquita, being shy. I was certainly, and still identify as an introvert, someone who kind of, would get overwhelmed with too much social stuff, and definitely was never on social media, never really out there speaking. As a psychologist, I could be pretty private, and just really interact with people one-on-one in psychotherapy, and really enjoyed that for so long. But when I became vegan and just other things changing in my life, just maybe certain shifts that happened for me, I really felt called to bring, my gifts to help the vegan movement, just seeing the impact of animals on animals and the planet and human health and what we eat and what we buy and the choices we make daily in those areas. And I just felt like called to bring the background I have in psychology to help in some way, whether it be helping people awaken and realize the impact of what we eat on all these areas, and or helping those already vegan with thriving as a vegan, because if we don't thrive, then it's going to be hard to inspire others. So being involved with We Did It Health, and also working on a book, those are ways that I express, my purpose and my mission. And like you, Mariquita, I can relate to the struggles with self-talk that, if things don't go well or someone doesn't respond positively when you're sharing the vegan message, it's easy to get really negative and, either get angry at them or angry at yourself, or feel demoralized. And so how do we kind of keep moving forward when maybe not everyone around us is ready to hear what we want to share? How do we keep that positive inner momentum? And maybe you can touch on that a little bit, when we do feel discouraged, how do we get our inner voice to be more supportive of us rather than staying in despair?
Well, I think that I think having a great support system, right? Because I know that I could reach out to you, Angela, and say, this happened to me, and I know that you would support me. So having that support system is crucial, but also, physically, giving yourself a hug, like, hugging yourself, or doing the self-talk in the mirror it's very effective. just, I mean, it sounds hokey a lot of times. I mean, you're going to go look in the mirror and talk to yourself, right? I think that's crazy, but no, it really works. And it might feel awkward, and know that it feels awkward, but those are ways to support yourself. I mean, we're not taught to celebrate ourselves. So as children, really, these are new learned skills, but the more that you can make a list of your good qualities. And so when you're feeling down, get that list out. Ask your friends. When I was coming through my really awakening period and I felt so low, my friends had given me, they had written out what they liked about me. So I took those and I pinned them all over the wall, and I saw them every day. I read them, and that started to reprogram my brain. So you could ask your friends, hey, what are my good qualities? And get all those and put them up on the wall and read them over and over and over and over, because you're going to be rewiring your brain. That's what helped me. And it does shift. It takes time, but it shifts. Because it's normal to acknowledge your feelings. All feelings are normal. So when you feel sad or angry that someone has snubbed you, or maybe tried to harass you online, or laughed at you, or said, oh, I'm going to eat more bacon now, right? So acknowledge that feeling. Like, that's not you. That's a feeling you're having, and send that feeling compassion. Oh my gosh, I see that you're angry, Mariquita. I see you're feeling angry. I see you need to call Angela. You need to call someone. You need to go take a walk in the woods, right? So acknowledging, I see what you're feeling, and what do you need? I see that you need to go outside and ride your bike and get some fresh air. So it's very, very important to acknowledge these feelings. Because, the more we know ourselves, the more we can grow, and the stronger we'll be.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of great comments here, so I will just try to share a few of them. In response to your question for Phil about whether, he felt comfortable speaking, it sounds like it's easy for him when he's knowledgeable and care about the subject. And I can relate to that too, that I think that learning about it and feeling like you have a good understanding and then really caring about it, it makes it easier than it would be otherwise. That's awesome. Thank you for what you share, Phil. And one person shares that sharing a recipe at a time, and Jeff Novick videos, who presents things in a funny way. So finding like our resources that help us connect with others, that's really awesome. Yeah, and Running on Plants shares, understanding human psychology is so important. Love is the answer. We'll never evolve into the vegan world through shame. And definitely I would affirm that psychology really shows that, when we're hurting, it's very natural to lash out in anger and sort of want to do something that shames another person, when we're upset with what we're seeing, or we're hurting over what we're seeing in the world and happening to animals, the planet, other humans. And yet psychology shows over and over again that behavior change that's lasting and meaningful doesn't happen through shame. We might change through shame, but it's not going to be in a positive way towards the kind of world that we want to create. So I really am with you on that, Running on Plants, that we have to find other ways to create change in others, even though it may be hard for us sometimes when it doesn't happen as fast as we want it to. We worry.
Yeah, I really am glad you said that, Angela. And what about, a lot of people get angry and say they shouldn't be respected. What do you think about that? As a psychologist, what does science say about that?
Melanie Joy speaks to that a lot. And this has been her area of study as a social psychologist for years, long before even I got into the whole veganism area. And what she shares and what other researchers show is that when we treat someone with contempt, which is really what we're doing if we're shaming someone or disrespecting them, they shut off to our message, and they can then sort of because it brings up anxiety and shame in them, and that is the most painful experience any of us can have. Even if your message is valid, most likely they're going to shut down from it at that moment and they'll find a way to discredit you. If we can share the same information in a way that gets their curiosity and helps it to be something that they can relate to, maybe speaking on a talking point that speaks to them in some way, and we ask questions and try to understand where they're coming from and just come from a more curious place, our brain chemistry will let their brain chemistry feel safer and more open to exploring new ideas. It doesn't always happen when we want it to happen, but that's the way that often change does unfold when the person is ready and open. So yes.
I love that, the curiosity, because that's the same thing I was talking about with ourselves, being curious and not judgmental, just curious. Like, I wonder why I'm having these thoughts, or curious about what's going to happen, right? And just sitting
the part of our brain that is lit up when we're curious is the frontal lobes, that Claire Mann was talking about the other night in her talk, that, the part of our brain that can be curious and learn and grow and take in new ideas and share information in our frontal part of our brain, that's lit up when we're curious. When we're fearful or angry, then we kind of go to that more primitive rear part of our brain, the limbic system, and the kind of more primitive aspects of our brain that just want to be in survival mode, just help us feel safe. And so at that time, we're not open to learning. And so if we're in fight or flight, that's that part of our brain that wants to just protect or, fight or flee. We can trigger that in other people, and then they're not going to hear us. So it's sort of like we got to come to that part of our brain where the learning and curiosity can happen and help hold that so that the other person can connect with that. And then it's not easy to do, but it's a process. Of learning to do it. And I think being patient with ourselves when we maybe have times that we're not handling a conversation in the best way, we've all had those, and we just learn and grow from them. So there's a few other comments here. We're getting some great comments. So Shanacy wants to share that she has a document, which is great, that's meant to help vegans cultivate integrity, positivity, and resilience, and better communication skills. I know it relates to that as well. And so she has the link there that you can check it out. It has all kinds of books and podcasts and articles. Yes, it's a wonderful guide. I know it's also available on her Facebook page. On
Vegan Empowerment Group. Vegan Empowerment.
Okay, Vegan Empowerment. Yes, on Facebook. So thank you. So Cassandra says, I personally think we're advancing slowly, but the great change shall come by Mother Nature herself, a world-changing impact, whatever that shall be. And that's certainly likely true. It certainly seems. I know. Sometimes I reflect, Mariquita, on other social justice movements throughout history, and that often there would be a tipping point where, like, maybe only a certain number of people realize we should change something, whether it be civil rights or other issues, and then sometimes over time enough people embraced it that there was a tipping point. So may there be a tipping point for this, where enough of us awaken to caring for animals and the planet and our health through what we eat.
Amen to that.
Yes. Chris says, internalizing our positive traits is so important for reasons I don't understand. It seems much easier to internalize and believe negative things. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'll be interested to see what you have to say about that, Mariquita. And I will just add, as a psychologist, having worked with people with depression and trauma in my previous work as a psychotherapist, our brain, especially if we have had any trauma in it, is sort of wired to find the negative. It's a survival mechanism. So it's almost like we really have to search and cultivate that ability for gratitude and seeing the positive, because we're biologically wired where like for safety and survival. And so the negative, especially if we've had difficult life experiences, is much easier to see. It just comes naturally. That autopilot you were talking about. So I don't know if you have any thoughts to add to that, Mariquita.
Well, just from reading books on happiness, and I mean, the books and the studies show that yes, we are more wired to the negative, and but we, like if we go out, since we're more wired to the negative, we'd be looking and finding more negative things. And there is a book on happiness. I don't know which one it is now, but talking about how we're missing, because we're so wired in that way, we're missing all the little joys of life. Like every blade of grass, every flower out there, we're just walking blindly by it. So it's when we start to really be aware that yes, maybe my wire, yes, or yes, my brain is more wired towards that, but I can redirect and shift. And that's, again, this is all about redirecting and shifting so that we can thrive in all areas of our life. I mean, to the best of our abilities.
Yes, definitely. So Chris, we can relate to you. And I think one thing you shared earlier, Mariquita, that I think has been important for me is developing habits. You know, like because the negative for most of us comes much more easily, whether it's negative about ourselves or negative about what's happening in the world or negative about where our mission is at right now, and are we as far along with it as we would like? You know, all of that, it's easy to see the negative. And so cultivating habits that help us connect with the positive, you know, help us to make sure that that happens. You know, so for you, like you mentioned, listing your positive traits and asking others for input, gratitude journaling, seeing 2 or 3 things that happen good in the vegan movement each day, like maybe searching that out, because often the news is more negative than positive. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Chris.
Yeah, that's really great. Yes, and getting that habit of doing that every night. Maybe have a journal of like what you're celebrating about yourself every night, 5 points, and then what you celebrate about in the vegan movement, what you saw, I love that, Angela.
Yeah. So this person shares about my passion or mission in life. I want to spread the message of universal truths, things that transcend language and cultures. I want to help people learn about the injustices of humanity's past and about plausible solutions to these problems. Chemical pollution, deforestation, ocean acidification, and mass famine are all things we can change to help every living thing on Earth. If we can nurture and encourage vulnerable people with lasting global solutions, they'd be more receptive. And it kind of cuts off there, but I look forward to reading the full message. I just totally resonate with that. What a beautiful mission to be part of.
Yeah, that's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, definitely. And Cassandra points out it's important that animal rights activists have their own psychologists for mental health issues because there are so-called normal psychs that don't understand this point. I think that's a great point. And interestingly, there are lists of vegan mental health providers and therapists that you can find. If you, for example, go to Facebook, there is a vegan mental health provider list that you can find. If I get a chance, I'll try to find it. And it has a spreadsheet list of vegan therapists. Also, In Defense of Animals is a platform that has on it a list of some vegan therapists and resources as well for animal activists. So that's a really great point. Like seeing someone that understands, the vegan mission. If you're going to see a therapist to deal with some of these challenges, it's really important, and they are out there. They really are. So.
Yes, definitely, because we can get so worn down and burn out, and it's so sad someone who wants to help. It's sad to see someone burn out and feel so depressed.
Yes.
Definitely reach out.
Yeah. So depending on what the challenge is, if it's if it's a milder discouragement, then a vegan coach, such as Mariquita, can be awesome, to kind of support you through like dystopia and other kind of challenges. And if it's more severe, where you want to have like a mental health provider that has like a more advanced degree in mental health issues, then definitely there are vegan ones out there. So I'll try to get that link in before we wrap up our meeting today. Let me look at a couple other comments here. So got a nice message from Angela of Boomer and Beyond Wellness. Great to see you here. And so glad you're here too. We are always uplifted by you and your presence and your work helping people be healthier, especially older adults.
Yes, that's very inspiring. Thriving at all ages.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is, "Hope is a verb with its sleeves rolled up." I love that. Yes, I really love that. Wow. Is there anything else you want to mention? And then we will talk a little bit about our group that we have going on too, Mariquita.
Well, I did want to say that I work with people one-on-one.
Yeah, share a little bit about what you do and how your work helps them.
Yeah, so I mean, for the people that are feeling stuck and are not taking action, so I do 3 months coaching programs to get you up and taking action and looking at what your thoughts are and how they're in alignment and what's the greater thought, what's the greater story here, and how we can get you moving. And so we're moving towards these tangible goals. I also do the coaching, the group coaching, which is always fun to be in a group. And we share resources and we move together towards activist goals. So that's what I'm working on the next program. And it's really just to be around others. It's so great for your mental health and for peacefulness and to re-energize when we're around others that support us, because it can be so draining when we're not around people that understand.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking for that link for the therapists. I'll see. I'm not sure if this is quite it, but it's called Vegan Therapists and Mental Health Professionals on Facebook, and they do have like a list there. So that's the link to that group.
Oh, okay.
So for those that are vegans and that might want to look for a vegan therapist.
I was looking at Chris's comment. Can we show that really quick before?
Sure. I'm reading Claire Mann's books, Dystopia and Myths of Choice. These books are helping me understand how and why so many people remain ignorant of the plight of animals. Sadly, we do this to ourselves too when we allow ourselves to go along with the lies of animal production industries. Yeah.
Great books too.
Yeah, that's so true. And learning, from teachers like Claire Mann and Melanie Joy with their books, where they really are explaining some of the psychology behind, what we eat and why often people are resistant to learning more about it, until something kind of just shifts that balance. I'm thinking in my own life, what was it that shifted it for me? Because for years, I grew up in the Midwest of the United States, which is kind of farm country. I never knew about factory farms. I just saw the cows in the field and thought, I just really didn't think much of it. And I definitely didn't know how I would be vegan or vegetarian or how anyone would be. So, my awakening was seeing a program that happened to show about kind of the meat industry and how workers were treated. And then that got me thinking, well, if I don't like how the workers are treated in this kind of industry, what about animals? And then I just started reading and cooking vegan, vegetarian recipes, and over time became fully vegan. But it was a process, like something just got me thinking and made me open to learning and change, but probably a million seeds were planted before then that just finally took root in that moment. And I think all of us can probably look back and find, what was our own journey? And so how do we plant those seeds for others and really cultivate them in the people that are ripe to open to this message?
Yes, I love that. That's exactly a very good point. The people that are ripe, right? Not the fruit that's not that's tiny and not ready.
Yes, yes. Not getting too hung up in frustration with those that are so far from ready, and really being there for those that are ready, because the more we can get that tipping point, going, then the larger population is going to be more open because it's going to be more mainstream, quote unquote. Chris adds, when we allow ourselves to be lulled into believing that the animals are okay, I'm thinking of drawings of happy cows and chickens in pretty backyard farm settings. So true. That's what I kind of believed, and I think many people do. And we've all had those conversations where when we try to kind of share otherwise with people, that they're sort of preferring to believe this myth.
Yeah, and they say, I don't want to hear it. And then you to think, what do you mean you don't want to hear it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and one of our viewers shares that they've been, working with a vegan therapist for over 3 years, and it's marvelous because it's founded in hope, and hope is so imperative. And yes, I agree with that 100%. That working with a team of providers, whether it's a coach, whether it's people we work with in our work, whether it's a therapist, whether it's vegan networks, having people that share what our belief system and this value system to help us stay hopeful. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else, Mariquita, you want to share before we tell a little bit about anyone that might not have heard about our group?
Well, just to please take care of yourself and celebrate you. And I encourage you to write down and ask your friends again, like, what are the great qualities that you have, and go over them in a notebook every day, or put them up on the wall like I did, and just.
And I want to ask you a question. Why is that important for you as a vegan activist or advocate?
Why is it important for me to help others?
Why is it important for people to list their positive qualities? If someone's wondering, how will that help them? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, that'll help, because you're rewiring your brain, and then you're seeing, you're forcing your brain to think in a different way. And it's so easy to get caught. It's very easy to be judgmental if we're more wired for the negative, to pile on these negative thoughts. And so you're redirecting, and you're opening up to newness that you're just passing over these great qualities that you have every day, and that's the autopilot, just passing over them. So now we're really taking a look at, we're stopping and making a pause and creating new patterns in our brain. And so the more that we have these new patterns in our brain with new thoughts, the more that's going to be the auto program that we're running, right? We're replacing that old auto program of the negative thoughts with a new program, right, of supportive thoughts. So the more you say these supportive thoughts, the more that they're going to eventually override that old program.
That's really great. And so you're kind of speaking to creating that habit that overrides the automatic kind of negative thinking that we often have. And I would add that knowing your own positive traits and being in tune with them, it's often through our unique gifts and traits that we make the impact as a vegan advocate. It's not trying to be someone else. Like, I don't need to be Earthling Ed, thank goodness, because that's not who I am. But thank God he can be Earthling Ed and do what he does, and then I can be me and do what naturally comes to me. And Mariquita can be that wonderful, like, I don't know, person with a generous heart that you have that overflows, like, with, I don't know, love and caring that you share to others, and that I think plants seeds to help vegans and others on this path to creating that more compassionate world. You just, by being who you are, you just flow over and bring your good qualities. So I can really see where listing those is helpful, because it's by being ourselves that we have the biggest impact, our best selves.
Yeah, our best selves, right? I love the way, honoring who you are, not being someone else, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you would be a terrible Earthling Ed if you tried to be Earthling Ed, Angela, and I would be a terrible Earthling Ed too if I tried to be. I want to be me.
Yeah, and we can admire and appreciate him and what each person that like listed their mission in the chat, what each of you bring that, I couldn't do what you do. Um, so I often think of it as like cells in a body, and we each serve the purpose of our cell, and then the whole body functions better, so to
Yeah.
create this more conscious, compassionate, just, and healthy world. So, well, I see that we're nearing the end of the time. One, we really appreciate all the great comments and input that people gave, and just, a few of you that are here are already in this group that Mariquita and I are leading with We Did It Health. We're facilitators for a group called Master Vegan Conversations, 10 weeks to compassionate, confident communication. And it's free to those that are in the We Did It Health new premium community that's just now kind of unfolding. Just recently We Did It Health has updated their platform. And so part of that is creating a community that you can share and communicate with one another, and also the premium community where we'll have classes like the one we're having now. And so I'll put the link to learn more about it. It's a 10-week live class that's interactive, but there is also an evergreen version of it if the time that it's offered doesn't work for you, because it's Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And for some people that just, they have other things at that time and can't do it. So I'm just going to put the link to learn more about it in the chat.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We had our first group meeting, and there's a lot of inspiring vegans and whole food plant-based activists in there.
Definitely. And, we only have a few spots open because it's interactive. We have to limit the size of the group. So if you are interested, enroll soon, and you could reach out to Mariquita or I if you had questions to learn more about it. But if you are interested in joining, we just, probably have another week or so that we'd be accepting new people, and, then the group will be closed. Although, as I mentioned, there is also the option to do the evergreen version if you're in the premium community where you can watch the recordings.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. And please remember to subscribe if you're enjoying this to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got the Family and Children Month coming up in July. So we'll be having Dr. Lee Edinger, a plant-based pediatrician, will be speaking. Tricia Shields will be leading us off with Compassion, her company Compassion Rising. So it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, vegan children's book author Cheryl Moss and others. So yeah, it will be great. So I always look forward to these Saturday presentations. So Cassandra says, there's immense work to be done. Thank you. And, just appreciation to everyone listening. And I totally appreciate you being here. Chris, it's encouraging to be able to learn from each other, since many of us are not supported in our own communities. Yes, like many of us don't have personal supportive vegans right where we live. That's so true. And what do you think about vegan athletics, improving the vegan diet through physical achievement to win more non-vegans over who aren't as intellectually engaged in the vegan message? That's a great question. And you make me think of Jeff Palmer, who is a vegan bodybuilder that's part of our community. You might want to look him up. That's sort of his mission, is to, I'll write his name in the chat, to reach people through like bodybuilding and health and athletics as a way to reach those that, might not be open to the message otherwise. So, it just, we all have our ways to share it, and like all are important because not all are going to come for the same reasons. So thanks for naming that. Well, thank you everyone, for joining us. Any final thoughts, Mariquita?
Well, I'm just very grateful for everyone here and everything you're doing, all of you all, Angela and Chris and Cassandra, other Angela, everyone here. I have a lot of gratitude, and
Yes.
keep sharing the gratitude for yourself.
And I just have to share, Angela reminded me, like, this is what she does too. Like, that she shares the message through helping people with fitness and health, and just that, yes, that, and she says, I recover without issue, and I'm 65 years young. What a great, and, like just her very presence in the world, is like a message that is so important. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for being with us, and wishing you a wonderful rest of the day.
Yes, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you the next time. Namaste.
Namaste.
Vegan.